Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Wells of Wall Street, a quick fire XDC video for you guys today. A project that we've held in the portfolio for some time, and it's certainly a project and technology that I'm really excited about for the now and the future, especially in the trade finance sector. I will just look at a couple of stories that have come out in the last 24 hours or so relating to XDC, maybe even relates as well to why it's had the progression it has had over the last couple of weeks in the charts. Before we go into that a bit more detail and the chart of course itself, don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you have not done so already. Welcome if you are new, and of course welcome back to all our fans from the previous years as well. Guys, let's go straight into this topic. So first and foremost, I think it's pronounced Archax maybe. So Archax and XDC Network, partnership to drive innovation and growth in real-world asset tokenization. Now, this market of real-world assets, or RWA, is absolutely massive. We're talking about multi-trillion dollars worth of a market opportunity, and certainly something that's well in its infancy. Real-world assets can very much ascertain itself around any kind of physical asset, really, that has a monetary value. We've seen things like NFTs in the past, of course, still today, of course, in their own formats, but this applies to things. It could be literally like watches, diamonds, it could be contracts, it could be assets that are held within management firms. We'll talk about that in a moment, because that relates heavily to why this partnership has so much fruition to it. One of the points here made by Standard Chartered: the market for tokenized real-world assets is projected to reach $30.1 trillion by 2034. That is not far away, guys, at all. I think that's underestimated, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a lot higher and maybe even a lot quicker, just based on the acceleration of how many crypto users we've got and how the technology is advancing so fast now. The opportunities are arising because of the ability of access, and the education is improving all the time as well, not just from an investor's perspective, but also the opportunities have risen for companies who are going to take on this kind of technology and projects for their own frameworks, their own projects as well. And that then filters upwards towards the asset managers, the infiltrators of finance, supply chain, you name it. Anything and everything will be able to be progressed through the blockchain technology. So XDC, with its recent upgrades, as it mentions here, improving the transactions per second. You might sit there and go, well, hang on a minute, some boast 100,000 odd. Do you know what? Most of those are a load of nonsense. They're just based on, when you go to like a garage or a car, you buy a new car, and they say, oh, an electric car or something can do this many miles. But actually, when you use it, you only get like a quarter of that, because it's not the real world, right? And they started having to do that for emissions, blah, blah, blah. Exactly the same principle. If you think about like Visa and everything, it's not too far off this transaction per second number actually anyway. But the fact is, XDC facilitates itself within a specific sector and industry, particularly trade finance, and in relation to these particular markets. So it doesn't need to be gigantic at all at this moment in time, and it will continue to improve. But the point being of XDC, is obviously promoted heavily with Andre, who gladly met I think it's a year ago now, literally. A year ago at the TFDI event, along with Sunil from XDC. It was absolutely phenomenal to speak to these guys and be in their presence, as well as they were showing us the back end platforms and things that they use in the trade finance world, utilizing blockchain already. So as an investor, you sort of sit there and go, well, why is the price not going up, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's because it's so early, first and foremost, and they're still educating themselves within these back end protocols and platforms. Companies, supply chain companies, hundreds of thousands of them, well, maybe not hundreds of thousands, but certainly thousands of them worldwide, are starting to learn this mechanism. Eventually, AI will take a lot of it as an automation tool for sure. But at this moment in time, we can see all the kind of digital assets, the opportunities that are available. As I said, blockchain can be heavily used in trade finance for smart contract aspects. And we're talking about like way bills, for example, when we're talking about customs, we're talking about credits and debits being made and paid faster. It improves the economy, it speeds it up entirely. It speeds up manufacturing, processing, production, delivery, payment. You can see how all of this can incorporate to speed things up and make things a hell of a lot more efficient than they have been. This is trying to facilitate a solution towards an existing problem that perhaps 90% of us don't even know about or see. And who knows, some of those costs could come back down to us in terms of reductions in cost because of that efficiency increase, or the companies will, of course, take a bit more profit. So we look at Archax a bit more detail here. So those that haven't seen it before, apparently the first registered crypto exchange in the UK. Phenomenal. Already got its certifications in ISO compliance 27001 in particular. A bit kind of actually like LCX from the Liechtenstein aspects. You know, if you haven't seen LCX exchange before, I mean, you can't really use it, to be honest, because you have to be like registered as a proper trader, or, you know, as I said, with trade finance in particular. I'm pretty sure it's probably similar to this platform as well. But what's really interesting about Archax in particular is the partnerships that it's got already. So you've got Legal General. I can't remember the I stands for, but something management. I'm sure it's probably listed here at some point. We'll have a read through that. Fidelity, of course, massive as well, and State Street Global Advisors. This is just a few of them, by the way, guys. But if you scroll down, this is phenomenal. So Legal & General's asset management division, absolutely crazy. They already have access to or work with $1.12 trillion worth of assets under management. Similar to Street Global Advisors, 4.73 trillion. You're looking here about Fidelity, 2.8 million customers globally. Been around for a long time, of course, 25 locations, big global company, $925 billion in total assets. These are all adding up, guys. Absolutely phenomenal amounts of numbers there in terms of monetary value. That doesn't mean that it will transfer across to XDC, but what it does mean is XDC has the ability to create that network framework to be able to facilitate real-world asset tokenization. As you see in some of these articles here, they'll scroll back further a couple months ago, they're already working with Ripple. So you can start to see, I think it's when someone mentioned in the comments before, and we kind of touched on it as a topic in general as well, you know, who's going to be the winner in blockchain? Well, the answer is there is not going to be one winner. There's going to be multiple of them, because they all have their own industry related opportunities. They're, you know, as they say, the jack of all trades, master of none. There's a lot of blockchains out there that try to perceive that they can do anything and everything, which just doesn't work unless you've got a gigantic team and a facilitation to do so. So a lot of the blockchains now are branching out into specific areas that they can be the master of. XDC is one of those in the trade finance sphere, and that's why they've got substantial partnerships in the background, some of which we don't even know about or can see in the general public eye. So when you add all these things together, it gives you the perception that, okay, why is the XDC price not so high? And I've not necessarily tired of this argument, but the whole point of that is we're still very early in some of these. And when you've got the utility token aspect of XDC, or the platforms that have been built to facilitate this kind of market and industry or sector, this is only one, by the way, which is a multi-trillion one, dollars worth. You have to be about timing, because the industry is in its infancy, taking on board blockchain and AI. It needs to educate itself. It needs infrastructure. It needs personnel at this moment in time to facilitate that and integrate. So we're talking about the next 5, 10, 15 years, really, in my opinion, of this transfer of technology. Taking away the barriers, the existing problems, it's going to take time. So I am a long-term holder of XDC, like I am with Quant and XRP, because I know what's coming. You know, I've been to enough closed door events with the government and the parliaments here in the United Kingdom to know what's going to happen. So I'm excited about the markets right now when they do rise up like they have been. I've been taking some profits on some of them as well, but I'm here for the long game in a lot of these. Yes, I could play around with memes, etc. I just don't have the time. I would like to do a bit more in those spaces for, you know, quick earners, etc. But for me also, I'm quite level-headed in the sense that we've got pensions, we've got this, we've got that, got savings accounts, but we need something residual, something that's related to a technology that's not even fully begun yet, and that's something that we can look in sort of 15, 20 years time as that fund grows and these numbers grow in the markets as well. So there's no right and wrong really of anyone out there, what they're doing with or without their money. And certainly in the crypto space, that's just my plan, that's my strategy, that's my thought process, and it's based really around things like this, where I knew that were coming anyway, from the conversations last year as an example. But to see the fruition of this is absolutely fantastic. It shows the progression is definitive. It is there. It's not just talk. It does take time. You have to have a bit of patience there. So this is huge, guys. Absolutely phenomenal information coming from this partnership. and do some extra research, guys, on the trade finance sector in particular, and how some more of these companies really relate to not just Archax. I'm talking about just how they'll facilitate AI and blockchain. It's absolutely incredible what's going on in the background right now. So do check that out. But on that topic, guys, let's just quickly go to the chart before I wrap this video up. XDC is currently floating around 8.9 cents. You'll see I've dragged the fib levels across from previous videos. I can't remember the last time I did one. Must have been about 7 or 8 months ago on XDC probably. So I haven't moved them as such in terms of alignments up or down. I've literally just carried them across to get to the most recent time frames for you. So you can see we've got a bit of a, I'm just going to remove these silly blue lines. By the way, that was kind of a reflection of what I thought would happen with XDC 8 months ago. We'd have some steady line downwards and sideways movements before the uptake. Didn't really know when the uptake would be. I thought it would be next year, but it's come a bit early into December, as we've seen with many other assets as well. So taking that one away, I'm just going to quickly make sure these are correct still as well. So pulling back so we can see a bit more information here. Previous all-time high up at 19 cents. We're not far off. We're already halfway there. That's the crazy thing. The movement is around about 200%, but we can see on the month it's up 223, just for confirmation there. On the 3 months, 227. That's really, in my honest opinion, come from the last month. The last few weeks, not so much the month and 3 months as total. But it's dragged all the numbers into green, which is good to see, absolutely, as an asset holder of XDC. So we're approaching this previous high back in July 2023. It's not far off. That was sitting at around about 9.3 cents. So we're literally 0.3 cents off that. Might see that in the next 24 hours. Let's see. But if you can just about see one of the small markers along here, you've got this little purpley kind of color one. That was one of the ones I did ages ago from a perspective of one of the low points, which was down here, and one of the most recent high points, which at the time was around this point. So obviously we could potentially just move that up slightly. It's not even that one. Sorry, there's an even smaller one. Can't get to it. I'll find it in a minute. But the point being is that we have already just about hit that marker. Actually, it's not far off. So that's on the 9 cents on the nose. Sorry. Next one up is 9.8. So if we can stabilize ourselves around this 9.2 to 9.8 marker over the next few days or weeks, there's no reason why we couldn't push ourselves up to 12 cents. Now, this Archax news, understandably, really, because of the infancy of everything with XDC, this could be reason why rumors were coming in and it's been taken out. But either way, that news is about a day or so old now, but still, the reaction is quite good in my opinion and what we see on the chart. So I would quite like us to see if we can get this stable area here before we can take up the next marker towards that 12 cents. If we get to here, I will try and take some profits, actually, to be honest. I have always been buying XDC at various different price points, particularly around this sort of 2-3 cent mark. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity to get XDC under 10 cents for the longevity of the project. Will we hit the previous all-time high and go beyond? I do believe we will, and I think, again, it's back to time frames, time scales of where we are from the technology perspective and the industry perspective. I think it's very early days still. But even with 2021, how far away it was to being fully utilized, it had a good run. And I think it was just jumping on the narratives of its capabilities of the future. Now we're more into the future, 4 or 5 years down the line, we can start seeing a lot more answers to this. So if we can nail this area here, in my opinion, I think we could definitely scale up to these next ones quite quickly. Almost as quick as we went through these fib levels in the last couple of weeks. And if we can do that, if we can penetrate that area, we can start flying upwards. And I think that's when the momentum, we've got more users than ever before, more investors than ever before. The capabilities of accessing crypto is easier than ever before. I think it's just more people's knowledge around trade finance and this sector in particular, and the opening now of the ability to work with bigger institutions, bigger firms of management assets could take this number quite significantly higher. I've always had the projection, if you remember from really long ago, that I reckon we could have got into 2025 to around 50 cents. I don't think that's impossible, but I'm being conservative. We just got to bide our time for these next couple of weeks. Let's see what the full December brings us. The RSIs in the bottom left here is suggesting that we could still have a bit more of a squeeze up further over these coming days and weeks. But I'm keeping level-headed. I do think this is possible. but we'll just have to see how it plays out. This might be for the next bull run, maybe in like 2028 or 2030, if it wants to wait until it's actually fully, properly integrated worldwide. Guys, let us know what you think in the comments below about XDC's price positioning, what you think about the partnerships, etc. I think personally this is going to have a gigantic future. We're just seeing the very beginning of what has already been a really good story for XDC. Constantly advancing, the team's fantastic, the proposals are brilliant, and now we're starting to see some really good moves in what it's trying to achieve in the industry. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next XDC video. Take care. Bye-bye.